Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Now, today's video, I thought I would talk about some questions which I quite often get asked as a tarantula keeper. Now, I was talking to one of my neighbours a couple of weeks back, and when he found out that that I've got quite a lot of tarantulas, he was a little horrified and but quite interested at the same time. So he asked me a bunch of questions. Now, these are questions which I've been asked a lot of times, and I like talking to people about spiders. So I don't judge people, even if their questions do seem a little funny sometimes. But yeah, he asked me a bunch of questions, and I thought it would be fun to do a video answering those questions. People who are wary of spiders, they do tend to sort of dwell on the same things in their mind. They have these ideas about you know what keeping tarantulas is like, and the dangers and things like that. So yeah, let's get on with the video, and I'm going to go through some of these questions. So, do I keep all my tarantulas in one big tank? Now, this is a question which I get asked quite a lot actually, and it's something that to experienced tarantula keepers, they might scoff at the question, but yeah, I say it's a very common question. Now, we definitely do not keep all our tarantulas together. Now, there's quite a lot of reasons for this. Some probably more obvious than others when you think about it. One of the things, obviously, is the size difference. Now, I have probably my biggest spider at the moment is my Panthobetis Antulus. Now, it's around about sort of 7.5 inch leg span at the moment, and she's still got quite a lot of growing to do. So, and then I've got lots of baby spiders, sort of this size, and then pretty much everything else in between. So you can imagine my bigger spiders would end up even bigger if I put them with much smaller spiders. So another reason why we don't keep them together is they're from all different parts of the world. You've got Australian tarantulas, African tarantulas, Middle East, um, Asia, South America, North America, all around the world. And obviously, there's very, very different habitats, from rainforests, sort of high altitude forests, deserts, all kinds of things. So, you wouldn't be able to keep those tarantulas all in the same conditions. So, it certainly, wouldn't be very good for them. And also, you'd have potential inbreeding, but probably more than anything, you would have, like say the cannibalism. And now there are some tarantulas which you can keep together in captivity. Um, M. balforis are one. I've never actually tried a communal myself, where you have, several of the same species in one tank. But even this, it can lead to cannibalism sometimes. If one or two spiders don't find the food as much as the others, or whatever, you could end up with, a bit of carnage. So yeah, that's one exception. Now, I have seen some tarantulas in the wild cohabiting the same tree or the same bush. I went to South America about 20 years ago, and everyone that knows me, they'll be like, "Oh no, don't talk about South America again, Scott," because because I've bored the pants off everyone who will listen. So, but yeah, I went to South America, and and I did actually see some avics and pink toes in the same bush, and I saw it a couple of times actually. Sharing the same tree or bush, and they were living quite close to each other, but they were living separate lives. So it's something which does happen in the wild, but also obviously when spiderlings emerge from the egg sac, they stay together for quite a while. But yeah, as a general rule, we definitely do not keep tarantulas together. Now, have I been bitten? Now, this is a question which comes up quite a lot, and the answer to that is I have been bitten by a tarantula, but it was entirely my fault. And it normally is if you get bitten by a tarantula. With sensible precautions and, remaining sort of calm and methodical, you can avoid being bitten. But this particular time, it was around about sort of 20 years ago, probably over 20 years ago. Um, I hadn't been keeping tarantulas for very long, and I found myself with a cobalt blue. Now, it wasn't my intention to get a spider like that, but it was what it was. It was in a local pet shop, and they didn't stock tarantulas or reptiles or anything like that. But they decided to get a couple of tarantulas in stock, and well, they were completely terrified of of the tarantulas that they did have. And this particular cobalt blue, you could see that they hadn't even cleaned it out because there was just dead crickets everywhere in there. So they pretty much gave it to me. Actually, I think they might have given it to me, or I might have given them a couple of pounds for it or something. But anyway, yeah, that's how I ended up with a cobalt blue. One day I was, I walked in my room and I could see that the tarantula was out of its burrow. And with cobalt blues, they're always hidden away most of the time. And but yeah, it was out this particular day, so I took the lid off, and I got my little micro camera out. It was one of the ones with the little lens that used to come out a little bit, and yeah, I stuck my camera sort of in the enclosure, took a couple of pictures, and the cobalt blue kind of warned me, to go away, and normally would run back in its burrow, but this particular day it wanted to stand and fight, and but yeah, so it went for me and got me when I stuck the camera a little bit too close. But luckily, it got me on the fingernail, and only with one fang, so it didn't actually puncture my skin or anything. But yeah, that's the closest I've ever been to being bitten. And but in all the years since then, I've been keeping tarantulas, and never ever been bitten. So I say it's normally your complacency. Even with your new worlds, you can become a little bit too complacent, a little bit too comfortable with them. So, but yeah, that's the answer to that question. So yes, I kind of have been bitten, but it wasn't too bad. Do you need a license to keep tarantulas? Now, currently in the UK, you do not require a license for any tarantulas or centipedes and most scorpions. Now, also true spiders too. Now, I've downloaded the PDF from gov.uk. Now, this is our official government website, and quite alarmingly, their list of invertebrates which you do need a license for is actually quite vague. So I'm a little bit worrying that, but I'll pop it up on the screen so you can see exactly what it says. Now, I'm not sure whether there's punctuation problems here or the wrong species listed. Now, it starts off with wandering. Now, we can keep some wandering spiders without a license. Now, I do have a black fang wandering spider, the Macrotenus kieselingi. Yeah, that's the one. I have one of those, and they're quite formidable spiders. The jury's still out on whether they are dangerous or not. Um, but like I say, there are quite a few wandering spiders which we can keep without a license. So just to put wandering is actually quite vague. Now I did check with another source, and it does specifically say Phenutria, which is your Brazilian wandering spider. Now, that is considered the most dangerous spider in the world by a lot of people. So yeah, that's on the list. Now, it then says Sydney funnelweb and relatives. Now, anyone who knows anything about spiders, they know what the Sydney funnelweb is like. It's a notorious spider. Um, but it also says and relatives. Now, once again, that is quite vague because there are funnel web spiders which we can keep in the UK certainly without a license. Now they are quite similar to your Sydney funnel web, not as dangerous and a little bit smaller, but much the same effect you can get with them. So But yeah, so again, that is quite vague to say Sydney funnel web and relatives, because there are relatives that we can keep of the funnel web. So then the next part. Now this is the bit where I'm really confused. It says Brazilian wolf. Now I'm not sure whether they were supposed to put Brazilian wandering spider there, because I mean I know what a wolf spider is, but Brazilian wolf, I don't have a clue what that is. So yeah, that is quite vague. Then it goes on to Sydney. No, it goes on to your black widows, the Latrodectus, um, and redbacks. And once again, it says and relatives. Now there are relatives of black widows which aren't deadly and which you can keep. Well, I mean, black widows aren't even deadly most of the time. Um, so once again, that is very vague. I mean, we know what black widows are, most people, but that's fair enough. Now, brown recluse spider is also on there. Now, I'm not too bothered about keeping a brown recluse as a pet, if I'm honest. So I won't worry about that one. Um, and then there's booted scorpions. Now, I'm not really sort of clued up on scorpions, so I'm assuming that it's a whole genus of scorpions, perhaps. But yeah, those are the official invertebrates which you do need a license for. But all tarantulas from all around the world, we're free to keep those in the UK, and most of your true spiders, apart from the ones on the list. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. So that's just a few of the questions which have been asked recently about tarantulas. Now there will be a part two to this video. I didn't want to sort of bore you for too long with just my face talking, so I think I've waffled for long enough. So if you've liked today's video, give me a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing. My subscriptions are kind of plateaued now, um, but I do enjoy making the videos. So, but yeah, give me a thumbs up if you do like the video. I really do appreciate it. And also feel free to comment. So I'll see you in part two, where I'll answer some more questions for the people who are curious about spiders and are quite fearful. So yeah, I'll see you in part two.